Welcome, horror fam, to HHN 365, a Halloween Horror Nights podcast. My name is Mike, and as always, I'm with my co-hosts Duff, Jess, and Jonathan. We're all back. We're all here.
Yeah, I was gonna say you said as always, but I don't know about that.
What's always anymore?
As the old days.
There we go. The old days of like 3 months.
On today's show, we'll be taking a look back at all the news as rumors, as well as some of the announcements we even missed, like the Vegas thing.
Yeah, there's surprisingly some stuff that we still need to catch up on. And after last week, there's a few things that we want to go over again with you two because I need to hear your thoughts and just a lot more stuff in general. One of those things
I need to be filled in. I have not really been following it, so fill me in.
Same.
This is why Jonathan exists. He gets these things for us.
Hello.
Also, Jonathan, last week, as we were recording, we had, I believe, 2 house permits, and you said, yeah, but by the time this episode releases, we'll have more. You were right.
Yeah, literally the day it released, we got not only more, we got 8 more permits, making right now the total to be 10 house permits in total. And let's talk about them. Let's talk about the 8 additional ones. We had on that day, we had Soundstage 22 released with the codename Poppy. Soundstage 23A released with the codename Snapdragon. Soundstage 23B released with the codename Violet. Soundstage 25 released with the codename Poinsettia. Fast and Furious released the location, the house location, with the codename Jasmine. Sprung Tent 4 released with the codename Daisy. Sprung Tent 2 with the codename Iris. And Sprung Tent 3 with the codename Tulip. And with those taken into account, in addition to the ones we got last week, which had the codenames Carnation for Sprung Tent 1 and Lily for Soundstage 24B, I mean, it's confirmed now all the codenames are related to different flowers. And yeah, that's what we have so far. But there's a little bit more to talk about with these permits.
Yeah, there definitely is. I think kind of the biggest one you'll notice is that we have the return of Soundstage 25, which we have not seen since 2019, where it was going to be Stranger Things. This is a location that's been used as mega houses in the past, so probably going to happen again, I'd assume, right?
Yeah, I mean, I would think so. I'm pretty sure I didn't go through the Walking Dead end of the line, but that was a mega house too, right?
Yes, it was.
So all 3 uses of this location have been mega houses. So not saying like it has to be one, but so far precedent is that if there's a house in this location, it's going to be really, really long.
Mm-hmm.
What exactly makes a mega house a mega house? Just the length?
Yeah. It's well, does more
queen.
Well, hey, does more rooms count as length or girth? Because it's just about having more actual rooms. Basically, is kind of the main definition.
Right. So not necessarily like a bunch of special effects or whatever. It's more just about size.
Yes, correct.
Think about Stranger Things 2 and 3 and how that house just went on forever.
Yeah.
It's, that's a great way to think about a mega house. It's just like you finished season 2.
Yeah.
So is there like an unofficial list of like houses that were a mega house? Because
I think you're looking at it on the outline.
It is Walking Dead end of the line, Poltergeist, Stranger Things 2 and 3. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Those 3 houses.
Insidious felt really long.
Oh, that's just because people walk so slow because they were terrified.
That was traumatic. That was a whole different kind of
But yeah,
speed.
I think Insidious technically had the standard, I don't know how many rooms, but under 10 kind of is like 10 and under is like the normal house. I think the mega houses hit more like 12, 13 range.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
But the cool thing about these permits, besides we do have code names here. We do have a bunch of different code names. I'm going to be completely honest. I don't know if any of you guys have any ideas, but I'm not getting anything right now with these code names, or I'm not, or even able to connect them with any rumored houses or whatever. I think it's a bit too early to try because I think it's really difficult right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, it's probably not real, but Can I just propose, and it also goes with like maybe the house, but can we pronounce carnation like every time we say it?
That's
we
funny.
get a Western house
That'd be
inspired
cool.
one.
Hatchet and chains.
Listen,
That'd be
Hey,
great.
I'd
lightning
take
gold.
it.
Yeah.
I'll leave the carnation part to you, though. You can handle that, Mike. Every time you say it, you can put the emphasis
I
on
can
it.
just what a carnation.
Exactly.
The only thing that I can think of, and it's because somebody explained this to me, was that I know poinsettias are from Mexico or they are grown in Mexico. So I mean, take that with what you will.
Yeah,
So
I think the
and
only
they're also like a Christmassy, like very
there's also
notably
Christmas.
Yeah.
the thing we have to point out as we start every speculation season at this point is that these code names, at least in very modern HHN, are not really meant for us to figure it out. There was a point in time where they did do that. Not anymore. So it's going to be very loosely based on and loosely connected to whatever property ends up in that house.
Right.
Yep. Remember, Last of Us was pair because it was a pair of
And to be
herrings.
honest, that was probably like the best connection.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
that's it.
Some of them are so far off that
Yeah, like last year we didn't really have very many connecting things, right?
No.
We got s'mores though.
S'mores, that's about it.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think that was probably the closest, right?
S'mores and flan were the
Flan.
easy ones, I think.
Flan, yeah. So there was a few,
But this year, actually, I'm happy you brought up that conversation, Duff. This year, insiders are straight up saying, in past years, they've had loose connections, connections that anyone who doesn't follow HHN, or even know about any rumors wouldn't be able to connect or whatever. But they did have loose connections. This year, they are claiming that there is no connection whatsoever. And that the theory is the connection has nothing to do with the different types of flowers or whatever, but it has to do with the number of houses, and that's why they might be related to flowers. But we'll get to that in a little bit. But yeah, how do we feel about these possibly? Do we believe they have no connection at all to the houses, or do we think that's not right?
I mean, I don't think it's no connection at all, but I just don't think
mean,
it's straightforward.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
it would be great if it had a connection, like a jasmine, carnation. Like those could potentially be really cool houses if it's as straightforward as we're finally getting like a Japanese house. The jasmine flower.
Yeah, Sprung Tent 2 would get a nice Goo Goo Dolls house. Been waiting on that.
Without
I'm
further
trying so hard not to sing it.
Please don't. No.
Sing it, Mike. Let's go to Rising Star.
Without further ado, though, we have more to talk about these permits, but that continues in the rumors segment. This is one of the weird times where the conversation is going to shift from news to rumors. It's just kind of how it ended up working out. But regarding the permits for HHN Orlando, insiders are saying that we may end up having 12 houses. That is the number they are claiming, 12 houses. I do want to bring up one theory, one permit theory that people have gathered, not even insiders, just I know Alex pointed this out to me, and a lot of people figured this out by now, but not figured it out, but have found a connection. Just looking at the permits themselves, we have the Soundstage 24B permit. That one is codename Lily, but we don't have a Soundstage 24A permit. And Soundstage 24 usually holds 2 houses, and the permits say A and B respectively. The different halves of the soundstage. Why would a permit say B if there was no A? They could just say Soundstage 24 if it was just one house. You'd think that's how it usually works. So the question becomes, do we believe the insiders? Do we think we're getting 12? Do we think we're just getting 11, for that Soundstage 24A permit that hopefully may be on its way, it looks like we're supposed to get it because we have a B? Or do we not believe any of those theories? And do we think it's just 10 like it's been since HHN 28?
Where would the 12th house go?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, that's
No clue.
yeah, no.
Okay.
No.
I
Yeah.
wasn't sure if that was like part of it because I am so disconnected. I was telling the guys before we started recording, I have no fucking idea what's going on in the rumor mill.
I think
So,
from our perspective of 365, let's focus on a potential 11th house now, because
Yeah.
I don't know what the fuck
yeah.
the 12th house thing is outside of a blank rumor.
Yeah,
I
and it
mean-
would have to go into some sort of soundstage, and like, I mean, that's really all he would have left, right? It's just,
Back to Shrek Theater.
yeah.
Gonna kick all the attraction
Okay.
CMs out of their break room.
Hey, they'll be fine.
Legacy is heard in regards to the 12th location. Insider Legacy has heard that we can't use the parade buildings yet, just due to some other things. Just that isn't really
I
related to
can confirm
HHN.
we cannot use the parade buildings right now
But
from
there we go.
people that work in there.
Right.
We still can't touch the MIB tent.
Mhm.
That's what he always heard, and I don't think this is a rumor he said, but he also just straight up said he doesn't think Villain Con's viable either right now.
Mm.
So if none of those locations are viable, I really don't know where they put the 12th.
Well,
That's perplexing.
there already is a building built just for HHN. Carnage Warehouse. You just have to walk straight across Universal Studios, through the middle, all the way across the Airside Islands Adventure,
Oh
behind
God.
Spider-Man. And there you go. There's a venue right there. Built for
Close
the
a whole
event.
other park.
What's the soundstage that they have cues in? But could just like put the cue somewhere else? You really couldn't, right?
No,
No,
yeah, because that's 21, right?
I don't know.
Yeah, I think so.
21, I believe, is where the queue
And
is. And then they have 19, 20, basically. Well, 20, or is it 19? 19 is Blue Man Group, 18 is Blue Man Group. Anyways,
18's Blue Man Group.
18 is Blue Man Group, 19 and 20 are like held for productions.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
And you can't use that like open area because you pass it on the way into where Monstrous was, like where you get your ticket from. That like open area where they set up queues by the other sound stages, they need to have that open for production trucks and stuff during the day. So they can't just have stanchions out there waiting.
Yep.
Yeah, 25 is really the only flex one, like the
Mhm.
one that they could, and for a while, I think 25 held like TNA wrestling and other stuff, so it like couldn't be used. But now it's probably it's the only one that's kind of left empty.
Question: do we know how much? Because I know whatever that soundstage is, 21. Part of it is used for costuming and break space.
Yes, yes.
Is it half of it, or is it significantly less? Like, could we throw another queue on that half and find a new break space?
I am not going to say I know for sure, but kind of us walking through the building or along the building, it seems to be about half at least. It's pretty close.
That's a second queue right there.
Yeah, that's true.
They just need to
Yeah.
find break space, but like it's easier to put team members backstage somewhere than it is.
I
to put
will
guests.
say that, yes, that would be easier, but people who work sound stages have also mentioned how they already kind of feel like they don't have space as is back there.
Mhm. It's a lot of them in there.
So I don't know if they're going to be able to find something that can meet that size and space that they have. That's already kind of not enough from what we've heard.
Gotcha.
Could they build another tent? They got those tents up fairly
Yeah.
quickly.
But where? You're going to have to knock down some of the trailers, I guess. Or I guess not
Isn't
knock them
there-
down, but remove them.
Didn't they put a tent back there for Vamp? For their break space? Or was that not a tent? Were they in a trailer? I don't know. Because they were moved
That's a good
to like
question.
a different space. And I think it was a tent.
Was it a tent?
I think it was a smaller tent. It was one of the ones that they had over by like Last of Us had a tent off to
But
the
that was
left.
that was just additional to what was there. Right.
Right.
Yeah, it
wasn't-
was break
yeah.
space.
Yeah.
That's all it was.
It would be taking like parking. It would probably essentially be taking team member parking.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Another thing to note, like about the 12 house rumor, we've never had a year in the history of HHN. Besides, I think there was one weird one where like a dual house like there was a house that became a dual house, whatever. But there, if looking back, there's never been a year where we've added more than one house. The next
Yes.
year, we've always only had one. So right now, there is no precedence to add two, especially since HHN has been so adamant at keeping 10 since 2018, when frankly we probably needed more, like sooner. Do we think they just jump from 10 all the way to 12? Because that is, I mean, that two houses are a big jump. That's extra money to build the house. They would need the staffing for it to work. There's a lot that goes into that to add like an extra house on top of another extra house.
Before people jump down our throats for saying it, technically there was a 2-house increase in
Mm,
1998, but in 97 there was like a double house, so
mhm.
it was basically 2 separate houses. But technically they went from 3 to 5 in
That's
98.
what I
I
was referring to, like the
Yeah,
technicality.
yeah. So I
Yeah.
just want to point that out before anyone jumps down your throat for saying it. He knows. He knows.
Don't yell at him. That's our job.
I feel when
Exactly.
we talk about HHN, like the '90s stuff was so wacky that it almost doesn't count. Like,
I mean,
when
honestly, it should. If they would have had a 6-house jump in the 90s, I wouldn't say that would mean I can expect 2 now. Like, it
right,
means nothing.
right,
It means nothing. But to the actual question, yeah, it seems like a pretty big jump. And I think the biggest issue is probably the staffing. Like, they have trouble keeping the event staffed right now. Add 2 more houses.
Mhm.
Not only is that 2 full casts, well, not just 2 casts, 2 casts per house, then full ops teams for each. That's a lot of people.
right. Plus Epic, where you're
Yeah.
getting a bunch of people to
Hmm.
go over to Epic. Like, I don't know, like where all these people are going to come from. Like, the unemployment rate in Orlando is pretty low. Like, I don't
Hmm.
know where they're going to find these extra people.
Gonna need to start paying a lot more.
They're just gonna
Yeah.
make more quiet place houses where half of the people there's just like a bunch of animatronics for like half the scares. There you go, solves it.
Boom. Ew. No.
Um, but I'm happy you actually brought up Epic too, because insiders have been saying that the reason, like one of the reasons they think 12 houses are coming is because of Epic, because we are going to have a lot of people coming in, you know, during that time to see Epic Universe when people think it's cooler, in the fall or whatever. And people are going to come. They probably will only be able to get a 1 day, like the way Epic Universe tickets are working right now. They might not be able to go a lot of days, and they're probably like, "Hey, we're coming for the week. We'll go to HHN." And that's going to bring some people to HHN who probably might have not have been, before, because they're coming for Epic Universe. So that, I mean, we're gonna get an increase in crowds most likely because of that. And B, what was my B? Oh yeah, Rip Ride Rocket's closing. So there's no way they're gonna use it during the actual event. And I know, sure you guys know, Rip Ride Rocket eats up so many people. It always has like a 2 hour, 3 hour wait almost every night. It is probably the biggest people eater in terms of rides besides Mummy, and we're not going to have that this year.
Mhm.
So that's like what the reasoning seems to be why they'd add 2 instead of just the 1. But with all the points we said before, mainly the staffing, I still don't know if 2 would be possible. But you know, I don't know.
That's a good point with Rip Ride Rocket too. Like when
Mhm.
we were just talking about queues, like who the f knows what's going to happen when it comes to queues? When you're going to be dealing with like tearing out a ride and having queues going all around it. Like who knows? It's going to be a
Yeah.
mess.
And then you also do bring up a point that I don't know that it will have an impact, but a lot of people are discussing it. Rip Ride Rocket is closing. Uh, that is directly next to all the sound stages. You walk
Yep.
Mhm.
underneath Rip Ride Rocket to get to multiple sound stages, or in and out of multiple sound stages. So a lot of people are speculating that that could also be an impact of why maybe we don't have 24A, and that'll be used as queue space. Now,
Mm.
I think due to the timing of the closing, there is a good chance that no kind of demolition or anything affecting just like a guest in the park will happen until after HHN. Because it is closing in, I believe, September.
Yep.
And they aren't just
Okay.
going to start demolition day one, you know?
No.
So they might as well, or could be planning to fully wait until
Just
HHN
wait.
is over, so it doesn't mess with flow of the event too
Right.
much. But
Good
Yeah.
I just
news.
want to point out a lot of people are bringing that up as a reason why maybe we are missing a permit for one because it's going to be used for something else.
Have we ever had a queue in a soundstage with a house on the other side? That sounds wonky.
Kind of for AHS in 27, you had like that last bit of queue right before you
Yeah, that's
walked
true. We
That is
have
in.
true.
had stuff like that where we've had a
Mhm.
little bit of queue, but
Be like the
Yeah.
Hollywood soundstage house, like
Mhm.
Weekend or what was the one before that
yeah,
we all did? Stranger Things.
Stranger Things, where you get the
Yeah.
queue in the front. Yeah,
Yep.
Yeah.
but you get like a big facade, like in that.
Could the queue then, excuse me, be utilized from the rocket queue for people? And then funnel them down into the
Mm.
soundstage like Monstros where that was? You like
That's what
use the, I don't
that's
know.
what I'm thinking.
You
Got that whole
could use
space.
Rocket's queue. Yeah.
Rocket has a big ass queue and it just so happens to spit out right there. If you go like have them
Yeah.
exit through like the locker area kind of.
So
Mhm.
maybe that's where they're gonna get some extra queue space from. Is they're just gonna use Rocket? Yeah.
Damn.
I think that's
that
very
sucks.
possible.
Wow.
But yeah, like overall, like I actually want to hear everyone's guess because it's way too early and a way too early guess, and I think those are really fun. Um, if we're going between 10, 11, and 12 houses, what train are you on? Like you think we're getting 11, 12, staying the same? Starting with Jess, if you were to guess right now with barely any info besides everything we've stated on this podcast, do you think we're getting 12, 11, or 10?
I think that HHN Creative thinks they're really fucking cute and the flowers are for a dozen. So I think
Mhm.
I'm going to go for a 12. I'm probably wrong though.
That's something that the insiders are also saying, that the flowers that I forgot to point that out, but the flowers mean a dozen, and that's the connection, and not necessarily like anything regarding to the code names. So that's something they have said.
It's right there. I don't know. I'm probably, like I said, probably very wrong.
Mike, what do you think?
Oh man, before the whole dozen thing, because that is literally the first time I've heard this theory. I was going to say that there is not enough evidence. It's just kind of all rumors and since we haven't got that 24A permit yet, that there's all evidence is real, actual, tangible evidence is pointing still towards 10. But the bouquet of flowers really is intriguing with the 12. So I think I'm going to say 10 or 12. I'm going to say 10. I think it's still 10.
Okay, Duff.
Well, I'm gonna cut you guys in the middle. I'm actually gonna say 11 because I'm gonna look at this from what I can see currently, rather than looking at the rumors. Obviously, people know more than me. I don't know. This is a guess, obviously, but from what I can currently see, we are missing one soundstage that I don't think would be missing just because they chose to. I don't think Rip Ride Rocket's going to be an issue. I think we're going to keep the queues the way they have been. Um, so why not have 24A? 24 has been used since 2013, where there was only one in that soundstage. Since 2014, there's been A and B every single year. Every single year. I just do not see why they just cut it to have 25 suddenly. So, from what I can see, I'm going to say 11.
I am on that same boat. I am definitely on the 11 house train for all the reasons that you said, and also just a case of we've never had a 2 house jump before. And after sticking with 10 for this long, I can see Horror Nights wanting another house, especially based on all the situations and stuff we've said, but I can't see them jumping to 2 when they were so stuck on 10 for years. It'd
Mhm.
be such a dramatic jump with everything that goes into creating a haunted house and all the money and people involved, and I don't think they're willing to make the 2 house jump yet. So I'm going to say 11.
And I do want to add on to that because I forgot to mention. I mentioned earlier, but for my reasoning, staffing one additional house is going to be enough. Doing two more, that's an incredible jump in staff. I just don't know if they'd take that on. So another huge reason I'm sticking with 11.
So do you think the permit is just waiting to be filed then? Like, or is it,
Yes.
did we miss the permit? Like,
So
because that
I mean,
happens.
so they typically come in like all at once or around a similar time. That doesn't mean they get processed at the same time. So like a lot of years, if you go back to last year, there was kind of like I think it was 4 separate gaps that we saw between house permits almost.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it could be something along those scenarios where we are still missing one that has not been processed yet.
And I think a good evidence that we are going to get 24A is that the permit was filed as SS24B. If we were just going down to one house in 24, it would make sense just to file it as SS24, right?
Also very
Yeah.
possible.
It's the only,
Also very
so
possible.
the fact that it says B makes me think that A is going to come. So maybe
Mhm.
I'm going to change my mind and say that 11 is probably makes sense.
If I'm correct, I think that 2013 permit just said Soundstage 24 too. The one that just had the one house in it.
Mhm.
I don't think it's split
Right.
A or B. I think it just said Soundstage 24.
So okay, so then I'm gonna say and we're positive that the permit said Soundstage 24B.
Yes.
Yes,
Lily.
it did. Yes.
Okay, then I think that's pretty confident that we are getting 11. So I'm gonna say it's 11 or 12, but I'm gonna say 12. Just seems like a lot. I'm gonna go 11.
All right. So we got Team 11 and Team 12. I hope 12 is right because I want that to be right.
Oh, I mean
but
Yeah.
that would be.
that's
I
the
think we're
answer
all
I
hoping
want
for
to
more.
be right.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm right, like I keep saying, but flowers, it just makes so
Yeah.
much sense.
I will say, I think that is a very fun part of the Guess Why 12. Like, I could
Right.
definitely see him being like, "Yeah, look at us.
And
12.
you're not the only
okay."
one, right? And other people, I'm sure.
I guess not. Probably.
Mike Aiello recently just, I think, did like his first tease for HHN
Mhm.
in a long time because now he's part of HHN again. Well, he was
Oh,
before,
have
but
we
like
mentioned
now.
that on the show? I don't think
Maybe
we
we
have.
haven't.
Yeah, if you didn't know, Mike Aiello is back full time with HHN now. There we go.
Woo!
Yeah. He was working primarily on Epic, but obviously assisting with HHN on IP acquisitions is kind of what we think is kind of where he was. But now he's full time back on HHN. We don't know exactly what capacity or what role that is, but I'd assume pretty similar to what he was doing before, just full time role now.
Mm-hmm. And now, like I was saying on Twitter, he posted his first HHN tease because he posted I think it was a picture or a GIF. I don't remember which one. But it was a bouquet of flowers, and that's what it was. And he was like, "It begins" or something, sort of like that. So there was a tease there. It could be just teasing just flowers, or it could be teasing 12. Who knows?
And I will say one great thing about Aiello returning is that he is very playful on Twitter about HHN in the development stage in the off season. So if he goes back to doing that more, that'll be a lot of fun.
Absolutely. All right, are we all done talking about the permits? Are ready to move on to the next rumor?
I think it's rumor time. Yeah, let's do it.
Rumor time.
Rumor time. This one is. I want to preface this. Well, actually, the whole. I'll just read it. According to Legacy, he has heard a Fallout house rumor for this year. Like the video game Fallout or the TV show that's out now, I think. However, the reason we haven't made a tweet about it or posted it or anything like that is he's been very clear that he doesn't really believe this. It's something he's heard. It's technically a rumor, but he does not have much faith in it, and that's why we're not gonna do any tweets about it. But I figured it'd be fun to talk about on the podcast.
Is that even a horror property? I haven't watched it, but it's more of like an action thing, right?
Yeah, it has light horror. I'd say the game has more horror than the show for sure, but still, it's kind of more actiony.
Do any of us believe this rumor at all?
No.
I don't know anything about this property to have an opinion. I'm sorry.
I don't
like
either.
Walton Goggins. I like
Yeah.
What?
yeah.
The
Walton
actor.
Goggins.
What was
The actor.
Ronald Reagan, the actor.
He does have a very weird name just
Sorry.
to say randomly.
I did not know what you said. Thank you for that.
The old goggles, you know.
I'm still not sure what you said, Mike.
You know, rotten wagons. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I hope the house comes now so we can scream that at the scare.
Now it has to happen.
Oh my god. Yeah, I have such an opinion now on Fallout actually coming to 34.
Walton Goggins. He plays a ghoul.
I've never heard of this person before.
He does. That's his official name, a character in the show.
Cool.
Oh,
Ghoul.
It is.
okay. Cool.
You need to Google Walton Goggins.
What?
I think you need to type it in.
I don't know what you're saying. Walton. Oh, I see it now.
Walton
Okay.
Goggins.
Oh wow. So much mouth.
Yes, that's part of his.
This man has a lot of
thing.
mouth. I'm not familiar with this man, and what a name. Thank you for educating me. Okay.
That was the Fallout house rumor.
I'm dead. I've been killed.
Aren't you guys happy that the band is back together? This is what everybody was missing.
Okay. Yeah, that's enough of Fallout. So let's move on because there's something that we completely missed that happened during the season of HHN 2024/34, and that is the full release for Universal Horror Unleashed. So we got full details. We know what's coming. We got like a teaser trailer kind of thing for it. Officially, we kind of already knew this, but officially announced it is opening in 2025. It'll have 4 houses. Those houses being Universal Monsters, Scarecrow the Reaping, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre,
Woo.
and The Exorcist Believer.
Uh,
What do we think about that as a house lineup for a year-round, basically HHN attraction?
there's multiple ways to go about that question, right? Because it's like,
Is there?
because I think it depends on who we're asking, right? Like for us, we've
Isn't
seen
that
all
always
these
the
houses.
case?
Yeah, no, that's true. That's true. But especially with Vegas, because Vegas seems like it's not catered towards us, right?
Uh-huh.
Like a little bit, but it seems like it's catered more towards people who are just in Vegas and like, oh, a cool thing, when they go and they haven't seen any of these houses before. We've seen all of these houses. There probably will be some differentiation, but they're gonna be, I'm sure, like similar in some capacity. I think like as a person who's seen these houses, I don't think I'd go to Vegas to see these in particular because I've seen all of them, unless I was already there. Like I don't think I go out of my way to see it, at least right now. But that's sort of my thoughts.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I know I will go see this for sure. I am not going for the house lineup. I'm going for it being a new HHN type experience.
Mm-hmm.
The lineup
I don't
itself.
need an excuse to go to Vegas. Like,
Yeah, right.
I'm sure I'll see it.
I mean, I think Universal Monsters was kind of like a must-do, right? Scarecrow.
Mhm.
I mean, great grab for an original. I get the choice for sure. And then Texas Chainsaw Massacre, massive horror IP. The Exorcist Believer, kind of that more recent horror IP to go with that I think performed really well as a house with guest scores. So maybe that's why they went with it. Otherwise, I don't know. It's kind of that's the weird choice to me. I think the first 3, I fully understand. Exorcist Believer for a year-round thing? People aren't going to be thinking about this in 2026. People aren't going to be thinking about this movie this year.
Yeah.
They already
That's
announced the series is done. Like that version of the
Yeah.
Exorcist sequels are not canon anymore. They just scrapped them.
Yeah, so why does it matter? This one's so weird to me. The Exorcist
Yeah.
will just do the original. Like that will always kind of hit for general because like if
Mhm.
you're older, that scared the shit out of you. My mom will tell you that like her family members went to see it in the theater and were like, "You will never see that movie." So they were part of that whole like overhype of it. So this is just a weird choice. The other three, yeah, I'll have a good time. And I've never gone to Vegas, so I was waiting for this to open to have an actual excuse. So I'll probably go see it once. I don't know if I'll go back.
Yeah, when this was originally announced, the concept, at least they kind of made it out to seem like this was going to be like ever rotating and it was going to advertise like the new movies coming out and stuff like we were going to, potentially get like Five Nights at Freddy's lining up with a Five Nights at Freddy's movie. Like at least that's kind of how they made it sound like they could potentially do here. But then they announced this, like this doesn't line up with anything.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Of course, it still could be a rotating thing, and I would kind of expect them to be at least planning on doing that. Um, but yeah, they definitely aren't doing anything that's promoting something new.
You'd have to
Mhm.
think that the Exorcist Believer part of it was like locked in, right? Like they right into planning. They had to have made a deal,
I mean,
and why? I don't know. It's such a weird choice.
they already knew they'd be opening in 2025 or later at that point, so why? The
I
movie came
don't
out in
know.
2023.
Was that like
Oh
when the
wow, it
sequel was
did.
gonna announce or the sequel was gonna release?
And then they canceled the
I don't
sequel,
know.
Maybe.
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 That would make sense. Because then this would kind of like re-hype up that whole
They're like, oh, you signed the contract, you did it.
Yeah.
You gotta have a house. We're gonna build it.
I I do want to mention, I said it before we started, but I personally now like seeing all of this, I think that this would fit better as like a traveling attraction for like a couple weeks in major cities.
Mm.
I think that that would be a better way to get HHN out there to people who maybe have heard of it or aren't, and there's horror fans everywhere. I think this is I'm curious to see where it will be in like the summer of 2026. How's that going to look?
Yeah, I've always felt that. I've always felt like this sounds really exciting. Let's hope it's still exciting in 2027. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. Ugh.
And I
I
think the
do like the
weird thing,
Texas Chainsaw Massacre part of it. I do
e-
like that.
even
What,
if it,
you?
of course he does. Come on.
Yeah,
Come on.
it's Texas.
He
It's
hates
good.
Leatherface.
It's his least favorite character.
Ugh.
The thing is, so like going back, even if this was something that was locked in, well, why would Blumhouse want them to hold on to that contract and not go, no, no, do something else, please? Anything else? Doesn't
yeah,
make sense. I don't. It just seems like the oddest choice all around.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
which
But
is
go ahead.
oh, concerning. I feel like the fact that they are making choices like this, and like we talked about before we started recording, how it was supposed to be the Orlando team to build this. Now it's the Hollywood teams, things like that. It just feels a little concerning that not everything is lining up here. But we'll see what happens.
hmm And of course, there are more than the houses. This is a full experience. Horror Unleashed is, and quote directly from the release is: surrounding the haunted houses are four fully themed immersive entertainment areas, each with its own unique live horror experiences, plus decadent food and drink offerings in select areas.
I think this is going to make or break this event.
Yes.
If you can make these other experiences, that these other entertainment things going on, the food and drink, the restaurants, all this stuff that they said, just wait, these are these concepts that are coming later. You know, but it's going to be awesome and it's going to be really immersive. If we can make that really cool, then this is going to work. If it's been scaled back for budget concerns, and we just kind of we don't quite get the um, as immersion as they kind of teased, then I'm concerned about this whole project.
And Mike, doesn't that quote kind of remind you of a experience we did in Area 15 in Vegas previously and released an episode on?
Yes, yes. I I don't know if I want to talk about it on the show.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's okay. They still deserve it. They were amazing. If you heard a couple of years ago, we got to work with Lost Spirits Distillery. which was an experience basically kind of like this, where it was an interactive, immersive uh, experience, kind of split up with you had food, you had drink, um, and it was great. It was cool. It sounds a lot like that. Unfortunately, they were one of the businesses that did not make it in Area 15 recently. Um, but it sounds like they're basically doing that concept, but with houses on top of it.
Yeah, and they were so nice to us. This is why it's so sad to even think, like I didn't want to talk about on the show and to think about, because they were
Oh, they
so
were so
nice.
great. They were so
And
great.
it's just sad to think that they didn't work out.
Hmm. But that kind of leads you to believe it didn't work for them. Obviously, Universal is backed by a lot more money and can support the tough times and make the larger scale improvements if needed. But something like this has already been done. Obviously, this is kind of a plus version of that. It's going to be tough. It's not going to be an easy endeavor.
Yeah, we'll see. Um, it Vegas is one of those things where the shows are short for a reason. The experiences are get in and out for a reason, because they they want to keep people into the casinos as much as possible. Universal is now trying to upset that apple cart by having come come here and stay all night and spend, it just I just don't know how it's going to work.
It's going to be tough. Before we get into, I guess, how we fully feel about this, let's just add on the last thing we got from it, really. We did see concept art of what we're going to see. A lot of that was kind of this carnival esque theme, and that included Jack and Chance. It was a themed bar around them. The characters themselves were in the concept art. So we know for sure that we will have those two icons at Horror Unleashed.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, I think we all kind of guessed that because
The
the first
original.
piece
Yeah.
of
Yeah,
the
the
original
original
concept
art
art
had
showed
Jack.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it
But
seems like
this is
he is very
yeah.
much going to be like, or at least they will be like the icons of this. At least one of the rooms or areas that
Is
they have.
in like a themed bar.
Yeah. So it's really all the concept art we saw was outside of like a little bit of housework was from this area. So we only really saw carnival theme stuff.
Yeah, there was like one other picture that I couldn't really make out
Hmm.
what it was, so I didn't put it here. But most of it was the carnival theme.
Hmm. But yeah, so we can get back into it now with all of us discussing. What do you think, not only your personal thoughts on Horror Unleashed as a whole, but what do you think about them taking this on and how well this could potentially do or not do?
I want it to work. I mean, I want everything that HHN does, as long as it's good. Like it's a good thing, to work. And I think this is a cool, interesting thing that if it does work out, it'd be amazing. I'd love to see these pop up all over the world. Get people more interested in HHN, and then have more people come down and just expand the brand, make it more popular. Like I'm always all for that. I'm just worried that this might be a little too niche, especially with the properties they have for the houses that are going to drop people in. Like, I don't know. The two main draws here in the lineup are Texas Chainsaw and The Exorcist Believer. I don't know if those are big enough to get people to want to go who wouldn't necessarily go to a haunt event otherwise. So I'm not really sure how well it would. I think it will do pretty well in if it releases like during the haunt season. I think it will do well in those seasons. I think that's a great time for this to thrive. I'm worried about the off seasons though. I'm worried that this might not get a lot of traction besides when people are really itching to do a haunted house, but I'm not sure. It really, like you guys said, it really just depends on that extra element of everything surrounding the houses rather than just the houses themselves.
For this to work, they're going to need to really spend a lot of money, and they're also going to need to keep it as fresh as possible, as often as possible. they're
Mhm.
going to need to, if they could appeal to locals or you know, LA people, that hey, we're, you know, it's springtime, we're going to have release a new house or a new, you know, show or a new something exciting, you know, come out and see it, you know, or if they're going to offer like annual passes, things like that, and to make it exciting, then I think this could work. They're going to have to get a fan base that is local for this to sustain itself, that want to come back as often as possible. If they are just going to try to focus on getting the tourists in there once and getting the money, and the product is just going to kind of stay the same the entire time for as long as possible, I don't think this works.
Mhm.
They're not. I don't think tourists alone are going to be able to sustain this. They're going to have to build its own fan base.
Yeah, I fully agree with that.
Yeah. Also, like, how? Okay. Let's just for 1 second. How much do you think it's going to cost to
Oh,
experience a house, let alone all 4 houses?
I think it's going to be a pay to get in period.
Okay. Then that's it. And then you buy the food and the drink.
Yep.
Yeah,
That's what
Okay.
I expect. And
How
I
much are
would
you
put that
thinking?
price point probably around 70,
Okay.
60, 70 minimum.
For like all day access or for a time frame?
I
they're
think
probably
it'll
only going to run it at night, right?
yeah, I think it'll probably be
Yeah.
like maybe afternoon, late afternoon, something like that. And I think yeah, I assume to get that much done you'd probably need potentially the full time if you really want to take it all in. But I could also
Okay.
see windows, them doing timed windows. It's possible.
Yeah. Maybe in the beginning, if it's that popular, they'll have to. But
Hmm.
yeah, I don't think this is going to be open at 8 a.m. Whatever. I'm curious to see it. I'm excited to see, something HHN in another city, but I hope it does well. Like you said, Jonathan, I'm just okay. We'll see.
Mhm.
The potential is there. I think there's, you know, I just hope it all comes together.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Well, best of luck. I will definitely come check it out when it opens. I do look forward to it. I just I hope the houses are decent quality. That's one
Yeah.
of my big concerns. All right, so with that, we can move on to kind of what will be our final segment today, and that's catching up on the rumors. Now that all four of us are here, it's time to hear all of our thoughts and kind of compile everything that we've heard about HHN 34 and HHN 2024 together. Of course, starting off with the two biggest rumors that we kicked the season off with, and that would be Terrifier and The Last of Us 2 coming to both Orlando and Hollywood. That mainly coming from Legacy, the insider.
I
So
feel
let's.
like with how successful Terrifier 3 was um at the box office, and it's now kind of almost like a mainstream property. It's still pretty gory, it's still pretty violent. I think this is the first time that I've started to feel that maybe Terrifier can actually work. Just
Hmm.
because it has now finally started to reach into pop culture in a way that it I think that it could work.
Yeah. I agree with you. I think that this timing makes a lot of sense. Wasn't it like the number one box office the weekend it opened or something?
Yeah, something like that.
That's
It may
yeah, insane. I don't know. I have thoughts, but I don't have a lot of thoughts because I've only seen the first one. But also like I see them doing like a mashup or maybe even like a how Hollywood took on Leatherface and like an original take using Art the Clown with like maybe iconic kills, or maybe it's just a book report house of all three. I don't know.
do you think is there going to have to be a bit of a modification of the content um for this to be like feasible?
Um I think that we I think we could I think we could even see the kill, like from the first one, the upside down kill, but she won't be like topless, I
Right.
would assume, or maybe she's like maimed enough that you can't see it. But I could see that being like a whole active scene with like a dummy and he's like actually sawing through the body. That would be fucking cool.
I mean, we've had fairly edgy stuff before with like the Evil Dead tree stuff, right? Like
Yeah,
they've done fairly edgy stuff before. It's possible.
very true.
I
Yeah,
do want to mention because you guys brought it up for a second. Legacy has stated that he does think, as of right now, though obviously it's super early on, but he does think from what he's heard that it might be like an original take on
Oh,
the franchise, like almost like an original house with Art the Clown. Instead of focusing on the movies, making more of no, not necessarily an original, but making it like an original story almost with Art.
oh, like
That
art
makes
hunting
sense.
you.
That
Yeah.
makes most sense to me because then the content wise and the gore can be scaled back to a little bit, be more to what we've been seeing lately at HHN. And
mhm.
that's still, it's going to be a gory house. I mean, but
Hmm.
it's just not going to be at that intensity level as the movies are at.
Yeah.
And I will say with the director Damien Leone, very vocally saying he wants this to be included in work with HHN. Um, I think an original concept could work real well because he could be very hands on with that.
Mm-hmm.
That excites me.
Yeah.
Well, okay. Wait a second. Let's unpack that statement for 1 second. Because him being heavily involved could mean one of two things. Actually, one of three things. He's heavily involved and he's just involved with John Murdy. Boo! Tomato, tomato, tomato. He's heavily involved and he's just working with Mike Aiello. Yay! And then most likely he's working with both coasts. But if it's the first option, we throw tomatoes at Murdy when we see him.
Is it Terrifier featuring the music of Slash?
I'm gonna be honest though, a Terrifier house like for Hollywood kind of really intrigues me because I think one of the coolest things about Hollywood houses is that they get to be a little the scare actors get to have a little more improvisation compared to Orlando. They have their triggers and stuff, but a lot of the times there's a lot more personal interactions you can find in their houses. And I could only imagine what like the art scare actors could do because I think the best part about that character is how he like improvises and like fucks with his victims, like makes some jokes or whatever, makes them laugh, and then performs what he does. So I think Hollywood, if this rumor is true, could really succeed at like that aspect of the character, which in my opinion is my favorite part of the character.
Yeah. I could even see them like filming a whole thing where they put David Howard Thornton in the house for a night.
Oh, absolutely. It
That
has
would
to
be cool.
happen.
Oh, that'd be so fun. So fun. All right,
I think
so
it would be really popular too.
Mm-hmm.
I will say it has been a bit more divisive than I thought online. I thought it would be very much everyone's just super excited, and it has a lot of people talking, but there's a lot more negativity towards the rumor than I expected.
I feel like Terrifier is one of those that people have been talking about basically since that movie came out. It's like, hey, could Terrifier be a HHN house? When's Terrifier happening? A spec map contest, the Terrifier event. Like we've seen Terrifier so many times as fans want it. Like, and I think it would be popular. Obviously, I think there's always contrarians to that to everything, and Terrifier is a polarizing property, but I think when it actually happens, I think it'll be popular.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think so too, especially if it's an original take on it.
All right, so we've talked about Terrifier. What do you guys think about The Last of Us 2?
Does the show new season come out this year?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. But I'm assuming it would, well, maybe. Okay, wait a second. Is there any insight on if this would be the game or the show now?
Probably
I'm
the game.
sure
I don't
it'd
think
be
he
the
game.
said, but
Yeah.
It'd be cool if they did the show for this round now
I
and switched it up, but I
don't
doubt
think so.
it. No. I can tell you Eugene really wants me to play the second one so much that he downloaded it to the PlayStation
Oh,
because of this rumor. So I keep saying if it becomes like really real, I loved playing the first one. I've been kind of hinted at what happens in this one, and it just sounds a lot more sad from what I've heard.
yes, correct.
Okay, so yay, more sad. I don't love
How
that.
how has The Last of Us, in retrospect, the original house, how has that held up the test of time? Is that seen like like as like a good house or fondly? Because I remember like at the end of the vent, it was a very polarizing house. But that doesn't necessarily mean we don't get a sequel.
I think in general, most people would say, yeah, solid house. Like that's kind of the consensus across the board. Is that it's just one of those things that, like, yeah, it was there, it was good.
It wasn't a full flop for sure.
No,
No,
definitely
it
not.
was fine. I would say a lot of people would.
It
say.
wasn't like getting a Chucky rumor or something like that.
No,
right?
definitely,
Like,
definitely
no,
not.
no.
Oh no, Mike! I think I would have heard if there was a Chucky rumor like this at this point. Like,
yeah. I think that, yeah.
And I also think, to your point, like when The Last of Us was here, in 32. Oh my goodness, in 32, the houses were extremely popular. Like if we're just talking about the wait times, both on Hollywood's coast and Orlando, the wait times were absolutely insane. Like almost every night. So they were definitely popular with the guests in terms of like it definitely got people in and got people to want to wait in that line. So I'm sure that would be a reason they'd be like, "Hey, let's do it again," because they had 3-hour waits like consistently.
All right, so moving on from those, I will say these next ones aren't actual rumors. They're just actually everything we're going to talk about from now on is going to be pure speculation rather than rumors themselves. Well, no, I guess the first one is it directly Jonathan, or is that more just
Legacy straight up said what it was. So
okay?
this one is
So this is coming from the speculation map from Horror Night Nightmares, but Legacy has now said that's what they're going for, and that's going to be a Megan house.
I think that would be highly successful. I think Megan, well, we're getting a second Megan movie soon, right?
This year.
this year, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
we have a trailer or a teaser or something that just came out recently, or something about it.
Yeah, I think
So
it would be a hit. I think quality wise, I think it would be not necessarily my cup of tea, just because of the style of house it would be. It'd just be kind of like a slasher with one main villain. But it's not everything has to be for me. I'm on the record for not necessarily loving the Megan franchise. I thought the movie was a bit cringe for my taste, but it's very popular.
yeah, I think it would do well. I think the wait times would be insane every night. And the third year for her at the event, that's kind of crazy. If this is true. I mean I like me Thregan. She's there. I think she's fun. I think that the younger kids love her.
She's kind of like a new horror icon. I'm gonna be honest. Like
That's
she's
true.
she's kind of the closest thing we have to a modern horror icon.
That's a
I mean,
crazy
yeah,
statement.
it's kind of true though. I mean, Art,
Yeah.
who we just talked about, obviously up
Art,
there.
yeah. But I
I
think
would
Megan is
say-
way more mainstream.
Oh
than
yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I would say Megan and like Freddy Fazbear or something. One of them. One of
Yeah,
those
I
Freddy
could see that.
guys.
Yeah.
That yeah, I guess I could really see Megan happening. That makes a lot of sense.
It would make a ton of sense.
Yeah.
And
Oh, yeah.
Especially with the new movie.
I won't say the locations matter too much at this point. I will point out this was in Fast and Furious on the spec map.
That also makes sense.
Yes, it
and
does.
that code name was Jasmine, right?
Yes, it
Think
was.
so? Yeah.
Okay, so that doesn't necessarily line up, but
I'm sure they'd make it line up when it
yeah.
happens. Okay, so now moving on. This is literally pure speculation from what people have seen, mostly off the speculation map. The first two being for what the ghost symbol is on the spec map, being ready for this?
Mm-hmm.
Beetlejuice or Poltergeist?
Hmm.
I will come out directly and say I am not expecting a Beetlejuice house.
Yeah,
Me neither.
I don't think I don't think Beetlejuice would be like I don't think it would necessarily be well received. I think uh they tried it, and I think it was proved that it just doesn't quite work for an HHN house.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I could see. I mean, the movie was successful. I could see
Mhm.
them wanting to do
The movie was
because of
great.
the sequel. I loved it. I thought, but I hate this question. Was it better than the original? That was never what it was going to be.
Yeah, it was never never
But I
intended to
really
be.
liked it. I will say that if let's entertain it for 10 seconds because of who I am and I have to do this. I think that the second movie is it gives you more of the netherworld that the whole house could actually just take place in the netherworld. And it could just be Beetlejuice in the netherworld. We could get on the soul train. We could do all that shit from the second movie and it could just be fun.
Mhm.
That would be fun. That would
In
be
the
a
way that
really
Major
fun
Sweets
house.
was fun. Like in that kind of take
Mhm.
on it. It's more about the location, not and like Beetlejuice would be there and we can get other characters, that are now there forever. So,
Almost like an original concept to it.
yeah,
Well, that would be fantastic.
but that's not what we're gonna get if that's what they're doing with Beetlejuice.
No,
So, if
you
they
would
are gonna
get
do
Yeah,
you
Beetlejuice,
you
would
would get a
get
book
Beetlejuice.
report.
Beetlejuice.
Yeah,
and I would hate that. That's not what I
yeah.
want.
I just don't think it would be popular to get a Beetlejuice book report of
Yeah,
the
I
house.
I just don't
No.
see them going back to the well. However, I will say Hollywood did not get Beetlejuice like they were supposed to.
Mhm.
So
True.
maybe they toss it to Hollywood. I don't know. That's not currently speculation. I'm just throwing that out there. But also, again, Poltergeist is kind of the other rumor on this side, which I'm not saying it's going to happen. I will say it's much more likely than Beetlejuice.
Absolutely. But like bring it back the same or
Oh, no, I would assume it would be a completely different take or including more of the films from the franchise.
It'd have to do
okay.
that, right? Because I don't even see how you do it. You do a different take on the one we had because that was already a different take on the
Hmm.
movie.
Yeah.
They are. I
Yeah.
think they already did as much as they could do with that first movie as they possibly could, and they had everything you wanted to see in addition to original content. Because that first movie could not really fill a whole house like if you just did it straight up. They needed to get creative. So
Mhm.
I don't see any other way they could just do the first movie again unless they just want it to be like the recent Halloween house where it's like it's kind of just the same thing. And I don't want that. I want something different, especially with this property that has more movies.
Yeah.
All right. Now, moving further on, we have one that is an Orlando exclusive, and that is Nightingales. Of course, the HHN original IP series Nightingales. How'd you guys feel
Okay.
about a return?
Let's get away from the chickens.
I
Let's
I like the
fix the
chickens.
face.
They were cool.
No. Fix the face.
I thought it was a good redesign, and I will stand by that. Was the
It's
house better? Absolutely not. But I like the redesign.
could this finally be okay? Did I Oh, wait. Thought. Let's mix in the flowers for a second. I did see somewhere somehow that people were saying like an Asian lore inspired house again based on one of the flowers. I'm not going back to figure out which one. But could this finally be like a samurai nightingales? Like that's their big bloodshed?
I would take that.
Oh, that'd
There
be
were lotus
fantastic.
flowers
That's what it
under this
was.
symbol. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it could be like an like I don't know, some kind of Asian inspired time. Well, yeah, I guess samurai. That's what I'm gonna go with. So that could be fucking cool. And that's been on spec for years.
Yeah, I would love that.
Yeah, I'd be fully on board. I'd be on board for Nightingales in general. I think that's a fun original you can bring back, and it's been long enough now, 6 years. Good, I'll take it.
Oh my
Mhm.
god.
Yes.
Sorry.
Yes, we're
Wait,
rolling.
oh my.
That just oh my god.
All right, and now we're going to move on to a few Hollywood exclusives. As always, they tend to get a couple more exclusives than we do. So let's talk about what some of the speculation for that is. One of those, shocker, Monstros 3 or another Latin American house of some sort. Who would have thought?
Yeah, it makes
Guess
sense.
where it was on the map?
Wait. Is it in the Parisian courtyard? Is that what it's called?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay. Yeah. It was like Mel's. I don't know, over there.
Correct.
It's inside of
wow.
Mel's.
Wow. Shocker.
Which one would we rather it be? Do we want Monstros 3 or would we rather them take it a different direction?
Different direction, please.
Yeah. I liked La Llorona a lot, how it was just one monster.
Mm-hmm.
One story. I know it was a previous house, but I wouldn't even mind if they just took one of the 6 and picked one and just expanded it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's fine. I'd take it.
I think the first monster in Monstros 2 was like so interesting. It was like kind of like Darkest Deal, but like
Mhm.
sort of a different, different take on it. And it was so cool. And it lasted 2 rooms and it was done. I'm like, wait, no, why? Like I'd love a whole house on that, that monster, because that was a really cool segment.
Yeah, I think if it could be anything closer to La Llorona, then I'll take it. Like any closer.
Mhm.
Any closer. Anyways, any more thoughts on the very expected rumor right there? Yeah, I didn't think so. The next one, however, is going to be a bit more of a, I don't know if it's a shock, but interesting discussion, and that is Slaughter Cinema. So Hollywood continuing its use of Orlando originals / simply the name of an original, potentially like they did last year. I don't know. But Slaughter Cinema is big on HHN spec for Hollywood right now. What are we thinking?
I mean, it makes sense. I think the only thing that makes me pause is that you have a very similar themed house already, not too far with Cinema Slasher.
Yes, you do. That is true. That's a good point. Will that stop them? I don't know.
Probably not. No.
I would like them to not touch this. There are a few things I would like Hollywood to just leave alone, respectfully. There's
Right.
things I think we should leave alone. I don't think we should do another Monstros. I think ours was great, but I think that's their thing if they're going to keep doing it. I don't think they should touch this. I don't think they should touch a Graveyard Games. I don't think they should. I don't think there's just like a lot of things I just don't think they should touch.
We
And they all
touch
kind of
a
happen in
toxic
Cary.
tunnel.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
You
that's their thing.
Yeah.
Let them have that.
Respectfully. No, thank you, John Murdy. I already have beef with you. Yeah, I know you're listening, Jonathan, what are you typing right now?
Something I remember that we're going to talk
Yeah,
about right
we'll
after
get to it in a
this.
second.
Oh no.
Oh,
Okay.
no.
no,
I mentioned-
Slaughter Cinema. Slaughter Cinema.
Slaughter Cinema. Okay, I'm sorry. The ADHD is real. Yeah, John Murdy, I know you're listening. I will pry this from your cold Irish hands. No. And Cinema Slashers down the road, and arguably amazing. Well, not arguably better than Slaughter too. So yeah. No.
Yeah, I think I mentioned it last week. I'll mention it again. I think this type of camp is not Hollywood's thing. Obviously, they could do a very different style and make it serious if they want. But if I had to pick a list of originals from Orlando that Hollywood should take, this would not be on that list.
I wouldn't mind it. I don't know. Like if they did it similar to Holidays in Hell, I don't think it would. I don't know. Like, but my thing is that they touched Slaughter Cinema already with Slaughter Cinema 2, and in my opinion, it wasn't really as good or didn't match it really at all. It was still a good house, but it did not reach the levels of Slaughter Cinema. And like at this point, it's already been touched, and so if Hollywood just decided to take it and do whatever, make like a Holidays in Hell style with it, I wouldn't be too mad because it was already like, there was already another version of Slaughter Cinema that wasn't as good as the original. So if it's not as good as the original Slaughter Cinema, I wouldn't really be devastated because I'm like, I already had that experience last year. It was still good. It's hard to beat that house. So I wouldn't be against it. I wouldn't be all for it, but I'd be interested to see like what movies they choose to do if they decided to do it, if it all be their own original ideas. Who knows?
I would agree with you, Jonathan, but my caveat would say let's wait a couple years. Let's let this simmer a little bit. We just had Slaughter Cinema 2 last year. Let's
Hmm.
not get an immediately Hollywood take on Slaughter Cinema right after. Let the good memories of Slaughter Cinema build up again before we get a Hollywood take.
Before Murdy crushes them.
All right, there's enough X's listed in our outline now. We
Oh
might
my
as well get into it.
God.
Yeah. So rumor, the final one we will discuss today, unless Jonathan thinks of anything else, is that we will be making a return to the Metro set, and that would mean a return of the toxic tunnel.
Let's go.
Oh, people aren't that excited now that it's here. We joke about it for years, and suddenly no one cares.
I wish that we had video just for the last 30 seconds because my face went on a journey.
Your eyes went on a journey, probably.
No. I made faces.
The amount of X's Jonathan included on that toxic tunnel on our outline is
I deleted
barbaric.
them. That was me. He didn't delete them.
Oh, I know. I saw.
Okay, good. I'm making sure the listeners know that. Yeah, no, my brain, when he wrote it, I was so stunned when we were talking about Slaughter Cinema that it took me forever to process what was going on. Actually, you know what? I've never seen it. So why the fuck not? Sure.
Here's the thing. It would be bad, but it would be for
Yeah.
the meme. And that's all that matters.
They'll just reuse all of the Dead Exposure shit from last year.
Oh my god, they would.
Mm-hmm. We'll see, Hazarambe or whatever the fuck his name was. I think that was his name.
Harambe? What was it?
No,
Hazarambe.
Hazarambe. So yeah, it was a gorilla, but he was like a big gorilla suit thing.
Hazarambe.
Yeah. Welcome back, Mike.
I'm here. I'm just not feeling well.
The toxic tunnel gotcha.
Yeah, the toxic tunnel. Something got me.
Oh.
I should mention the reason we're talking about this is that it was added. The Metro sets were added on the recent HNN spec map, and they made sure to point that out because it's never been on the map, since they got rid of it. But now they're like, nope, we added it back, and they made sure to let us know that was on the map. So there seems like they're expecting that area to be used this year, which could mean even more houses or maybe a change of locations. Maybe some locations go away and get replaced with Metro, or they just have more houses in general. We're not sure what that exactly could mean.
Yeah, toxic tunnel aside, I would love to see the return of Metro. I think it's a great space, not just for the houses, but kind of a place where you can grab food, drinks, use the restroom. Just a nice area to be in the park for HHN.
I've never seen it, so I'd love to see it.
Same. Yeah.
Well, if we don't have any last minute things, I think we can wrap this show up.
Yeah, it was good to go back and to talk about all the rumors. I'm getting really excited. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, it's definitely that time where I'm like, fuck yes,
Yes.
HHN 34.
It's
And
because Mardi Gras is
Hollywood, I
almost
guess.
here.
Yeah, it's true. I am very ready
Yeah.
for Mardi Gras. Food, drink.
Same.
So
Food looks
when did
good
we
this
get
year.
our first announcement last year? When was like the first like other like when was the
Spooky.
first one? Was it
Spooky
Spooky?
Empire.
Mm-hmm.
So which was what, May?
Yeah, May, I think.
Yes.
May.
April,
But then
May.
we got them like very rapidly after.
Oh my god. A
Right?
TikTok a day. I will never forget that week.
Yeah.
Exhausting.
It was like late May. We had pretty much a whole lineup.
Yeah. Crazy.
And this year we have Epic Universe opening, so I'm
In
sure
May.
that's
Oh.
going to change the announcement schedule too.
Yeah, who knows what we're gonna get. You're right.
Maybe we'll I could see them not doing anything until June, and then that might work out to like an announcement, consistently every like, I don't know, not even week, but every like, I don't know, Monday, Friday
Mm.
for everything.
I'd love that.
I'll
That'd
take
be
it.
great.
We'll see.
All right. Well, it'll be interesting to see, and let us know what you think on our social media at Twitter, Instagram, Blue Sky, and YouTube at HHN365.com and at TikTok at HHN365pod. You can always leave us a voicemail at 407-906-4134. And you can join the discussion on the Discord, and the link is in the description there to what you think of when we are going to get our first announcement. And we'll see you in the streets.